You're listening to The Moose and the Loose, your 10 minutes action-packed financial podcast with your host, Mike Yahoo. Hey, what's up, Market Moose? Mike from The Moose and the Loose. I hope you're doing well today. Let's take a moment to talk about how you can set up investment accounts for your children. I had that question from a DSR Pro member on YouTube, and he was like, Mike, I have kids that are not 18 yet, and I would like to start them up in this beautiful life, right? So I want to start investing for them so they can start to build their nest egg like faster, and it is an amazing idea. So kudos to you. I'm not going to name your name because it was like kind of a code name. But anyways, kudos to you to start thinking about your children and their future right away. And you know what? You can make it super exciting. But here's the catch. You cannot open an RSP. They're not working. You cannot open a TFSA. They are not 18. So how do you invest for them? Well, the solution I found, it's definitely not perfect, but this is the solution I found, and it's working for me. So I'm just going to share it to you. I shared it on the podcast, but it's been a while, and I'd have like adding a few more layers to that. So here's the thing. Since I came back from 2017 from my trip, I do not fully max my TFSA because I invest all my money into DSR, my membership website, Dividend Stocks Rock. So because of that, I do have plenty of room in my TFSA. And then I thought, well, actually, it wasn't me at first. My daughter came to me as she was like 12 back then. And she's like, yeah, Dad, I have like some money in my bank account. I don't know what to do. And I know that you're working in the investment business, so I want you to invest it for me. So I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then, of course, my oldest son, who was 14, so 2 years more older than my daughter, said, hey, I want to be part of that as well. So they decided to both put an amount. So the first thing I said is like, okay, so you're going to put exactly the same amount at first. It's going to be a lot easier. So they started by putting $500 each into the account. And then I told them, well, $500 is not enough. You'll need to also build a habit of saving money. So every week they receive $10 for their like home allocation. So I told them, how much are you willing to put per month inside that account? And they both said, well, we are willing to put $10 each. So, okay, perfect. So we set up the account. And as I said, I was able to open a TFSA under my name. And I was taking money from their bank account, putting it into the TFSA and starting to invest. So $1,000 plus $10 a month each. So $20 a month in that account. And I told them, well, whenever William will be 18, we will sell half of this account and I'll transfer that half to under his name. Because then, since it's in a TFSA, the great part is I can withdraw that money. And then later on in life, if I want to put more money in my TFSA under my name for myself, I'll be able to do it. So no bad consequences on my side. And on his side, it's even better because when we sold half of that portion, because like my son now is more than 18, he's like 19 now. So last year, I sold half of the account. No taxes because it's a TFSA. And then I transferred the money. He opened his own TFSA and started to invest in this one. So this is how we started. But now what was great is at first we started investing in an ETF. I wanted to keep like things very simple. Since I am investing in dividend stocks, I decided to invest in two ETF related. So one Canadian, one US for them so they can keep track of how it goes. And every month we had another $20. And once we had like about like $50 or $100, we were like adding this to the ETF. So slowly but surely growing that account. And once they reach maybe like $2,000, because they were like putting money aside also when they had like birthdays or Christmas gift, any time that they had a little bit of gifts, they were just like, oh, I would like to add another $50. And every time that they had to do that, both of them had to agree because it was kind of like managed as a joint account. I just want to make sure that like it was fair for everybody. So they put the same amount of money every single time. As they grew the account, I offered them a choice. I'm like, yeah, now you have a good foundation with ETFs, but I would like you to kind of like you start using DSR a little bit and see which kind of stock you would like to use. And my son William back then was working for me, doing some admin stuff, of course, like just copy paste, like database entries and stuff like that. So he was familiar with the stock screener and so on, and then he started to look at stocks with his sister. And what was great is they started to look at stocks with good ratings, of course, because that was super easy. But then they picked companies that they understood in a sense where they know about it. So, of course, I'm not recommending you to start just buying Apple because you have an iPhone. But when you have children that are starting to get interested in finance, that's the best way you can make them interested to invest, motivated to save money, make sacrifices, and continue to grow that investment account. So, of course, did a little bit of a like dad supervision here. So I didn't tell them, yeah, buy whatever you want. But they ended up buying some Apple and some Couche-Tard because, of course, dad was never too far. But also because, I mean, Couche-Tard, we have like one that is like they're taking their bicycle to get there. It's like, I don't know, like kilometers away from where we live. So we go buy Doritos over there, I gas over there. So super easy for them to understand the fact that whenever they spend money at a convenience store, or they bought their first iPhone and they were just like super excited. So they understood that whenever they are ready to spend money, they spend it buying stuff, using services from other companies. So those companies are automatically making revenue. And just like having them understand those kind of like basic stuff. But I mean, if you understand that at 13, 14, 15-year-old, you've come a long way. You're way in advance in terms of financial literacy, and that's just a great start. I realized how great a start was when Caleb, my youngest son, turned 10. And then William and Amy turned around and told Caleb, well, now it's your birthday. That's great. So you received some money today. And we saw the cards. So we're not jealous, but we saw that you received money. And you don't know what to do with that money anyway. So you're going to take like $400 and you're going to give it to dad. And dad is going to invest it. And they actually did this speech for me. I had nothing to do. They just did it for him. And then at first he didn't want to, but they kind of like pushed the button a little bit more. And eventually he decided to invest. Fast forward today, Caleb is now 12. He's been investing like for 2 years. Of course, the same $10 on the side. He does have a few shares of Couche-Tard and Apple, and he has an ETF, and he's like super happy because like once in a while I show him the account and I show him like, okay, so here's the part that you have put on the side from your allocation, and here's the part of that you just made money. And one day I said, you know what, you're up like $150. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's 15 weeks of work for you. Like that $10 a week allocation, that's 15 weeks. That's almost like 4 months of work for you that you did nothing, and it's there in your account. So he was like super happy, super convinced to continue. And this is how I've trained my children to get that habit of investing. Of course, investing in TFSA is not perfect. Whenever you invest in US stocks, when they pay a dividend, there's a withholding tax. But to be honest, withholding tax on Apple's dividend, I can live with that. It's not the end of the world, and it's not going to make a big difference. Anyway, when you're starting with smaller amounts like this, I think it's even better to get your children implicated in the process so they can learn, they can see how it's going. If they're making mistakes, I mean, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to lose like what, $50? It's not going to happen. It's not going to change anything, but it will be part of their financial education, which I think is key, especially if your children are not going to be working in the financial industry and choose other path, which is likely going to happen because that's only one out of like a million other type of careers. But whatever they do, I know that my children will know the importance of investing, the importance of paying themselves first, and the ultra capital importance of compounding. So that's the whole story here. So set up the TFSA whenever they turn 18. You switch it over to them, and there you go. You're done. Of course, if you have maximized your TFSA, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but then you'll probably have to build a personal account, non-registered account. Of course, you're going to have to pay tax on that, but unless your children are investing $1,000 a month, you should not have much problem. I mean, when I sold the account, it was like a few $1,000s that I gave William so he can invest. So even if I had to pay tax on that, it was not like $4,000 profit, which is like couple of $100 or something like that. So it's not the end of the world, and it's definitely worth it for the sake of education. All right, Moose, I hope that you have enjoyed. If you did, well, please take a second to give me a 5-star review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, and we're going to talk again tomorrow. Until then, don't forget to stay invested. Hey, welcome to the disclaimer. If you're listening to The Moose and the Loose, you cannot really expect me to give you buy or sell recommendation or financial advice, right? You're here for fun, you're here for information and some entertainment. But I am not your financial advisor, I am not your broker, so therefore I'm not liable if you're losing money after listening to the podcast. If you're looking for some advice, go see a professional. If not, you can enjoy the show and do your due diligence after it.